Bro, what videos?
Bro,
What
just
videos?
type your wife's name in YouTube and you'll see people confused
I'm not talking
about
about
things
I'm
that
talking
she
about
said.
me. You said me. What videos with me?
Well, you guys said something about you saying you're not going to a gay marriage or some kind, or I would go or I wouldn't go, something to that effect. People made videos about that, and it wasn't just me. So stop acting like every time you get online,
Bro,
people in the
that is
comments right
complete,
now are confused by stuff
bro.
you said.
All right, bro.
So
All right,
stop
bro.
it.
That's
Just
completely
I'm just
different.
saying,
That is
be
complete.
real. Be
That's
real.
completely.
All right, welcome to the Church Dropout channel. This is another episode of It Is What It Is. And today I want to talk about something that I came across, not so much about the interaction, but about, I think, what's apparent in YouTube culture. I think this is a microcosm of something that I think is happening within YouTube culture and church culture in general. I think it's a missing element to this. And there was a conversation that took place between Preston Perry, who's an online content creator, Christian personality, and Marcus Rogers, who is also a online creator. I think Marcus is supposed to be leading a church and pastoring. And there was an interaction that took place with both of them that got a little bit out of hand. I couldn't watch the whole video because I think the video was taken down. I was only able to watch what was available online. And then also just reading some of the comments of individuals who actually heard the conversation. And it went left. The conversation, took a turn where it just wasn't a respectful, great conversation. It actually, got personal, and, it's just not a good conversation. And those two individuals have addressed it in their own ways. And, so I'm not really going to talk about them per se in that conversation, but I think what happened with them, I think, is an example of what I think is happening with YouTube in general. And I think, I've said this before in some of our other videos, that what the body of Christ is lacking, and I think this is also on YouTube, what's lacking is wisdom. We have a lot of people on YouTube and in Christian culture in general. We have a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge, and knowledge is good. But what we don't have is a lot of people who have wisdom. We have a lot of people who are, whose theology, whose life hasn't met their theology, right? They are speaking beyond their depth of living. And to a large degree, we're all in that place, right? Like, we're always learning and growing, and we're all speaking beyond our depth. But we have a lot of individuals who are talking about things that their life has not caught up to. And what how it surfaces itself when that happens is there's arguments. And it's even arguments over things that are good. Whether it's doctrine, whether it's, kind of in the apologetic scene, these arguments apart from life always end up being just arguments. And the end goal becomes truth because there is no life attached to those specific arguments. And I think this is happening on YouTube in general. I think we have a lot of individuals who are super talented and a lot of individuals who have a lot of knowledge. But unfortunately, there's a lack of wisdom. And I would just say a lack of leadership in on YouTube, where a lot of individuals have channels because they're able to, and they teach because they're able to, but they don't have the wisdom, right? It's almost like I have a 3-year-old, and I'm not comparing these individuals to 3-year-olds. I'm just using this kind of as an analogy. If I give my 3-year-old a sword, he doesn't have the wisdom to wield that sword. He's going to cut himself and he's going to cut others. And I feel like there's a lot of people who have been given this sword, and of knowledge. And what's happening is people aren't growing by it. People end up getting cut by it, and they're also cutting themselves. And it's because there's just a lack of wisdom. And we need more wisdom. We need more wisdom. We don't need knowledge. We need more wisdom. Now, what's the difference between wisdom and knowledge? The difference between wisdom and knowledge is that knowledge applied. When you apply that knowledge, it becomes wisdom. When you live and experience that knowledge, it becomes wisdom, right? Then you're able to discern, right? We have a lot of people who are, again, living or teaching beyond the depth of their life, they're teaching theology, but their life hasn't caught up to their theology. And unfortunately, again, what happens, it's to a lot of people, it's just black and white words on a page. Now, I'm not talking about individual experiences. I'm not talking about, people's individual pain. But I think there's a hurry for Christians today, especially those on YouTube, to go out and to affect the world and to affect the community of Christ instead of just spending time sitting. Now, let me be very personal and transparent with you. I had a mentor who, used to tell me these things, and I didn't get it. To be honest with you, I just didn't get it. I had a lot of knowledge, I had a lot of zeal, and and I just was like, man, I need to talk about these things. I need to do these things. And I remember having these conversations with him, and he's just like, man, life is going to catch you. You know what I mean? And one time I was talking to a leader, and he said something to me, and I didn't understand it back then. I understand it today, but this is probably like when I was like 25 or 26 years old. And by the way, I'm 49 now. But when I was 25 or 26 years old, he said to me, he said, man, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you in 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, 20 years. And I didn't get it then, but I think this is what he was saying, is what I'm saying now, is that, when your life catches up with your knowledge, then you'll have something to say. I heard N.T. Wright say, they asked, like, he's cranking out books like crazy, right? And someone asked him, like, man, where's all this coming from? Why are you writing all these books now? And he said, I spent the first half of my life understanding, and now I'm spending the second half of my life talking about what I've learned over time. Just the patience of, sitting with Christ, and then finding an opportunity to be able to share that. And I think there is a lack of patience and waiting and maturing. And I think we're seeing it in some of our conversations. I'm not saying that these individuals or any individuals who are not seasoned yet have nothing to add to the conversation. I'm just saying that we need to check our tones. We need to understand where we are, and we need to stop just pursuing truth, and we need to pursue Jesus and understand what it means to sit with him. Here's the last thing I'll say. Jesus, when he called the disciples, I think it's in Mark 3, I believe, he said that when he called the disciples, he said he called them that they might be with him, that he might send them out. Being with him preceded the sending out. And I think what happens is when we come to Christ, we're so focused on being sent out that we think what we do for him is more important than being with him. And I would just say this, spend time with Jesus and learn him. Don't just learn about him, learn him. There's a lot of gifted young people. Man, there's a ton of gifted people who are on YouTube and on the online space and in churches in general, but it takes time. And I think what we're seeing is a lack of wisdom, a lack of understanding, not a lack of knowledge. There are people who are brilliant and smart, and more smart than, have more understanding than I would ever have, or most people would ever have. And I'm not saying I'm wise. I'm just saying that there's something to knowledge being applied, equaling wisdom. It's a different tone. It's a different conversation. And the point of that would change. If we're operating in wisdom, then the conversation and the tone would change. It would move from debate to conversation, and we would have the right focus. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that. I've been thinking about this a lot. I just thought this was an opportunity to actually talk about it. What the body of Christ needs, what YouTube needs, is more wisdom, not more knowledge. What the world needs to see is individuals who are wise, individuals who understand how to apply what Christ has talked about into their everyday life, and not just talk about it, not just spiritual bobbleheads, people with a ton of understanding. We got to move. We got to move what's in our heart to our hands and start to live in the light of Christ, and not just talk about what the light looks like. And so anyway, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, this was not about those individuals. I think that's a microcosm of what's happening on the larger scale within the YouTube community. Is that, yeah, there's just, a lot of infighting going on. There's a lot of what is being called as difficult conversations when it's just not, they're not difficult conversations. They're just unwise conversations, conversations that are leading nowhere. And it's resulting in, disunity instead of unity. And the central point is being missed. Jesus is not being lifted up. We're actually deterring people from seeing Jesus. And so, anyway, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Those of you who have been in the YouTube streets, that just sounds funny. You in the YouTube streets, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on this, or your take on these things that have been going on, and how you feel about what's happening on YouTube. And keep the conversation moving forward. Keep it respectful, as always. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Truth Dropout. It is what it is. Like, rate, and subscribe wherever you're listening. Talk to you soon. God bless.